Unlock the doors. This bill is set down for committee stage next sitting day. Call on Government Order of the Day number 4.
Industry Training and Apprenticeships Amendment Bill, first reading.
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, I move that the Industry Training and Apprenticeships Amendment Bill be now read a first time. I nominate the Education and Science Committee to consider the bill. At the appropriate time, I intend to move that the bill be reported to the House by 10th of March 2014. Mr Speaker, this bill is a vital part of the Government's comprehensive reforms to industry training to achieve better performance for employers, for trainees and apprentices, and also for taxpayers. To explain the purpose of the bill, it is necessary to provide a bit of context. In the decade up to 2010, government funding for industry training organisations and industry training almost trebled. Unfortunately, those funding increases were not matched with sufficient accountability for taxpayers' money. While there was an increase in recorded industry training participation, it did not, in fact, represent value for money. Qualification completions and credit attainment by trainees during this period were very low. In fact, under the previous government, up to 100,000 people a year who were listed as being in industry training were in fact phantom trainees who achieved no credits and in a limited number of cases were no longer alive. This situation, about 100,000 a year, this situation, if you want me to count, you don't want the answer to that question. This situation was obviously unsustainable, Mr Speaker. The government took quick and decisive action. Our operational changes led to significant improvements in both qualification and credit attainment, which is ongoing. It has freed up funding for reinvestment in the system. The next step was to take a more fundamental look at the policy settings of the industry training system, and we initiated a comprehensive policy review to assess whether the current model was fit for purpose. The review was informed by extensive consultation with the industry training sector and industries and found that there was significant room for improvement, particularly in the quality of service provided to both employers and trainees. In January this year, we announced a further package of policy changes to industry training. The changes are all about increasing the opportunities for in-work training for New Zealanders by expanding and improving our apprenticeship system and reinvesting some of the money saved through our operational changes. We've announced the establishment of New Zealand Apprenticeships. These combine modern apprenticeships and other apprenticeship-type training into a premier vocational qualification. New Zealand Apprenticeships will provide the same level of support and the same level of subsidy for all apprentices, regardless of their age. We've also boosted the educational content of apprenticeships by requiring all apprenticeship programs to be at least 120 credits and resulting in a Level 4 qualification. And we've increased the funding for apprenticeships. This increased funding will allow industry training organisations to invest in the quality of education for apprentices, it will enable them to lower fees for employers and encourage growth in the uptake of apprenticeships. The apprenticeship reboot has been underway since March of this year. The first 10,000 new apprentices enrolled since March have been eligible for a grant of $1,000 towards their tools and off-job costs, or $2,000 if they are in priority trades, with the same amount paid to their employer. I announced a couple of weeks ago that the reboot scheme has already signed up 8,000 new apprentices in only 7 months. It has resulted in a 67% increase of people commencing apprenticeships compared to the same period last year. And 2/3 of all apprentices signed up have been in the designated priority trades such as construction, engineering, infrastructure and electrode technology. The Industry Training and Apprenticeships Amendment Bill will support these initiatives by enabling the establishment of a comprehensive New Zealand apprenticeship system, refocusing the role of ITOs on standard setting and arranging training, and strengthening quality assurance of the industry training sector. The first objective of the bill is to enable the establishment of comprehensive New Zealand apprenticeships that provide the same level of support to all apprentices regardless of their age. The bill repeals the Modern Apprenticeship Training Act of 2000 and amends the Industry Training Act of 1992 so that legislation relating to industry training and apprenticeships is located in one modern piece of legislation. The bill defines apprenticeship training and removes the existing age restriction for apprenticeship training, defines the functions of the Tertiary Education Commission and prescribes the duties and responsibilities of organisations that arrange apprenticeship training. The bill also allows the responsible minister to issue a code of practice for apprenticeship training and to set guidelines for organisations, employers and apprentices. ITOs and other organisations that arrange apprenticeship training will have a statutory responsibility for ensuring that apprentices receive appropriate pastoral care and support. This will mean that the organisation responsible for an apprentice's training will also be responsible for their pastoral care. The second objective of the bill is to focus ITOs on two core responsibilities: setting skill standards for their industries and arranging training. The bill removes the ITO's statutory skills leadership function, which requires them to identify current and future skill needs for their whole industry. Removing this role will encourage ITOs to focus on arranging training for employees, which businesses have told us are the services of most value to them. I want to be clear that removing their statutory skills leadership requirement does not prevent them in any way from undertaking skills leadership. Rather, it will incentivise other organisations, such as industry associations, to take a greater role in skills leadership alongside ITOs. This will improve links between government and industry in determining present and future skill needs. The bill also prevents ITOs from owning registered private training establishments. This removes the possibility of ITOs directing trainees towards institutions in which they have a financial interest. The third objective of the bill is to strengthen the quality assurance framework for ITOs. At present, the Industry Training Act 1992 does not require an organisation to satisfy any particular quality assurance standards in order for it to be recognised as an ITO. The bill addresses this by giving the New Zealand Qualifications Authority power to prescribe quality assurance requirements for ITOs. The bill also strengthens the quality assurance framework by giving NZQA power to impose a graduated regime of sanctions to address poor ITO performance. They will be able to issue quality assurance improvement notices to ITOs to address poor practice outside the scope of prescribed quality assurance requirements, and issue compliance notices to an ITO that does not meet quality assurance requirements or fails to respond to a quality improvement notice. The responsible minister will then be able to impose conditions on an ITO's recognition if it does not comply with these initial sanctions. Mr Speaker, the Industry Training and Apprenticeships Amendment Bill is a vital part of the government's revitalisation of industry training to get the best results for employers and for trainees. It completes the implementation of the Industry Training Review. It will boost system performance for all parties and build greater links between government, the industry training sector and the industries that employ the trainees. I commend this bill to the House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Grant Robertson.